And we should be live. Hello. It's been a while since I last did a live stream. It's been a bit of progress in that time. The main thing is I've started printing off all the sections for the robotic arm. So they were just about halfway on stuff that's been printed. Might need to reprint this one. Let's see, let me grab a servo real quick. And apologies if the audio isn't as good as usual, or if my audio isn't good ever, but hopefully it's not terrible today. Ended up breaking the mic arm that I had made. And I just had it stuck over here, was grabbing something out of the drawer over there and just pressed against the bottom of it, kind of snapped the C-clamp section of it apart. Tried to glue it together, didn't really glue it together well, so I might try to glue it again, but I'm thinking I'll just make a little adapter for this mic stand so we can get the same shock mount on there, and then I'll just use this mic stand. I can move it wherever. I don't have to worry about it getting bumped or broken, and it'll be at a proper height so I can speak into it and lower the gain so you don't hear the highway again. But hopefully that's good enough for today, because I want to print off all these parts first, and then I'll swap over the filament to a different color to print the mic stand. I guess I could do it in white. The rest of it's in white, so maybe I should do it in white. I'll think about that. But yeah, so I'm going to be working on that a little bit, working on these robotic arms. And yeah, as far as this one goes, I guess my measurements were off just the slightest bit. So I can fit, the servo fits in just fine. It unfortunately is just the slightest bit off center. So yeah, that'd be with it locked in with the nuts and bolts, and it's just the slightest bit off center, so that's not going to work. And so I'm hoping I can just sand that down, get rid of some material, and have the servo fit in place. And I think I have another joint like this in the robotic arm. I think I might try and redesign it so that the servo is locked centered, but it can slide up and down so it's centered in this circle. So it has a bit of freedom, and just simply use the ring that goes around this outside. Goes on the other side, which is another thing I need to change, because I was dumb and didn't realize that the ring won't actually slide down the robotic arm to get where I need to go. It gets caught up on this rectangular section because it's actually wider than the circle it would lock into. And so I'm just gonna cut the ring in half, and then it can still got it'll have 6 screws holding it in place, and so I'll just cut that in half and just manually stick it on and have the holes, or the screws hold it in place. But that's another thing I will need to change, and I'll get printing that again later today. I just didn't want to have it printing while I was recording, so I had a bunch of extra noise in the background. And then I guess another update, also started working on the wiper lifter design. So I have 3D printed a bunch of the sections. Also have the section that goes around this pivot point, if you can see that. Have that printed. Right now it has the cable stuck into it. So let's show that off. Cable it without making a huge mess. So this will be the cable that attaches from the wiper arm to the wiper lifter. And it fits nicely into the slot on this pivot thing, but I am going to have to design something so it is nice and tight at the top there, because otherwise it wants to have that bit of a gap there, which is just going to let it get outside the slot, and it's not going to work at all. So I'm going to make a little thing that holds that nice and tight so that it stays in that slot at any rotation. It just stays tight in that slot. And I guess as far as how that looks, the wiper blade right here. So originally I was planning on using, I guess, a driver's side wiper blade because it was a little easier to access, and the bottom part of it is actually straight, where this is the passenger side, it's the one in the middle, and actually has a bit of a curve to where I'm attaching the actuator. But I was able to match that curve in SolidWorks, and so it will sit nicely. Let's see if I can show that. Too many things to hold. Eventually it's going to sit right around there, and so it is perpendicular to the pivot joint, and we'll have this little thing. Oh. That'll be sitting, I don't know, I could show that nicely. That'll be sitting like there. Now you can see. I'll sit right there. The cable will run up there through this little hole with the metal bearing, I guess. And then that cable will then attach higher up here on the arm, and that will be what actually moves the arm, connects to it. Still need to make the connection up here because we're going to need a little part that pivots to increase the torque on this arm, so we can actually get a nice moment going, because as it stands it would do nothing, and it's just the actuator has nowhere near enough force to just pull straight down on this and have it pull out. So we'll have that acting, so I have an acting lever to torque that out easier. But that will be worked on once all of these parts are, all the robot arm parts are made, because this is all done in black PETG, where that is all white PLA, and I don't want to be swapping those constantly. So yeah, that's an update on 3D printed parts. Let me put those away. Of course, you got the hypest song in the Undertale soundtrack right off the bat. I'm trying to peacefully explain things, or just getting hyped up. But I suppose a stream full of hype is better than a stream without hype. Actually, but as far as what we're working on today, it's going to be a departure from those two projects. As I said in that title, I'm going to be working on a lid holder for like when you're cooking, because I've just started to get kind of annoyed with when you're cooking something, you have a lid on the pot, you have to take the lid off to perhaps put some more ingredients in. So you want to set the lid down, but you don't want to set it down right side up, because then you just get a bunch of water on top of your countertop. But you don't really want to set it upside down either, because then it's awkward to pick up, and it's kind of a little easy to burn yourself on the top side of the pan. So I did a little bit of research to kind of look into various different solutions that are out there. So yeah, let's find a couple ideas. I'm just looking on Etsy to see what sort of 3D printed stuff they had, and most of the designs I saw, they all had the lid. I guess this one has the lid opposite, so you have the wet side is going to be on the uphill side of the slope, so the lid is at an angle. The wet side is on the top, so the water will help pool in the bottom. But I still see that's a better solution, Because a lot of these, like there is this and this one, which are 3D printed ones. Someone had made it out of PLA, which has me a little worried because PLA is so poor at kind of lower temperature or higher, I guess lower temperatures. It melts at a lower temperature. So I was worried the lids would just sort of melt it as they sat on there, but seems, I mean, a bunch of 5-star reviews, everyone seems to like it, so I guess it can't be that bad. Or at least can't be that big of a deal that it melts and slowly warps. So there's both of these, it looks like. I suppose you could flip them either way in these pot holders. Like I wouldn't put the pot lids this way because you're just asking to have all the water run down and dribble all over your countertop, dribble all over everything, just make a mess. Or you'd want to have your lids upside down so the water is helped stay contained. But I still see water leaking fairly easily from these. I mean, same with this one here. You have your spot for your ladle, your chopsticks. You have your lid on it. This one looks like you really can only put the lid one way, and that way is with the wet side on the inside down face, so it's gonna leak into the bottom here. Then I really like, I like this design because it's just so simple. A lot of these look like they kind of be a pain to clean. Like this one has moving parts, has that joint there, so it's just asking to get gunk and grime in it. These are all 3D printed. It's fairly complicated shape to clean out, and I feel kind of bad for this guy because it looks like he made this original design, and this guy basically took that same design, stuck 2 rectangles on the back of it, didn't even like cut them from the inside shape, just stuck them in there, and he's calling it, he makes his own thing. Let's see, who has sold more? I guess this person has still sold a lot more. 5,000 reviews, dang, they've sold a lot. So I guess I don't feel too bad for him, but yeah, this guy took his, added 2 rectangles. It probably is a fair bit more stable. I mean, with this, you're going to have your center of gravity. It's going to be somewhere in this back corner here, which is the way the lid sits. And so it is good to have those back 2 legs, because otherwise you have to make sure you stay within kind of this area. Anything outside of this area, you don't have anything to counteract the center of gravity force outside of that area, and it's just going to tip. So those 2 little legs are probably necessary to make it a little more stable. But yeah, I like this one. It's just so simple. It'd be really easy to clean, nice and flat, but still has the lid going the one direction. I guess, and you can't really put it the other way on this one. It's just asking if you had that, I guess that'd be you have the concave, is it convex? I always got those 2. That's be concave is the inside, convex would be the outside. So you have to have the concave section up against this metal bar, otherwise I could see you asking for it to just kind of tip over. But I figured I'd try to make my own version of it, where I want to keep the lid upside down. So you'd take it off, you'd lift it from your pot, you'd tip it so the water, any loose water runs down, and you just hold it upside down, and you take it to a rack where it holds it upside down. I think, I'm not sure if it'd be better, because also saw, I guess, I'll see if I can find that again. Let's see. Under counter lid holder. Let's see if I can find, because I found another one which I like the design. Or I like the idea behind it. I'm not a huge super duper fan of the actual design. But I don't even know if I can find it. Come on, nothing? So one design I saw was all metal and was designed to basically hold the lids upside down underneath a counter. Which I thought was a very nice design. I thought the design they had was limited on size, which is the only unfortunate part of it. You're kind of stuck with, you could only go so big and so small, otherwise it just didn't fit. I really should have. Why is this taking so long to find? It was like on the first page last time. Come on. Yeah, I don't see it. Metal lid holder. Yeah, no, that doesn't look. Hot lid holder. Try one last search, see if I can find it. Guessing I can't. Which is a shame, boys. I think you hear like yelling outside, but I don't know what that is. Another design of the pot holder. This one, I like it better. I think it's limited on size, just looking at the shape of it. Like if you had a really small lid, I can see that not working super well, but I like the idea of keeping that lid with the wet side up for sure. I don't think I see it here at all, which is obnoxious, but oh well. The show must go on. Chat check, no chat. Uh-oh. Yeah, either way, it was basically you had kind of two metal brackets that sat underneath like a cabinet shelf, it looked like. And so you would then slide the lid onto those brackets. There would be kind of a circular shape on the inner face of them, so the lid would naturally settle into the center of that circle to hold it in place. And then it was super easy. Pull it back out to access it, and it would keep all the water from going everywhere. What do you think? Was a nice design. It's definitely something I think if I wasn't renting and I could do like renovations to the kitchen, that's something I would definitely look for. Something that is kind of keeps it out of the way. It's just stuck under the bottom of the cabinet instead of sitting on your counter. Super easy to use and keeps water and everything clean, so I think that's the way to go. But I decided I'd try to make my own anyway. And so tried to Google search some ideas so I could show what I wanted to do. Tried to use crayon.com, which is a little AI model thing you can just draw from prompts. Tried to find, I think this is about as good as I could with the idea on how I want it to look, which doesn't look like it at all. So I guess I'll just have to try and show it myself. So get back to webcam view, cool. Basic idea. So this right here is what we have to hold like spatulas and whatnot as you cook. Basically sits on the counter like this. Spatula sits in the bottom of here, and the handle sits on kind of this arch here, and that holds it off the counter, holds it on a nice clean surface. Easy to clean, all stainless steel. It's good to go. I want to keep most of this shape, but the idea is I'm going to have kind of this bowl at the bottom of it, and that's going to be kind of a little removable bowl. I'm going to make that probably out of, I'll make that out of PLA, make everything out of PLA, but I'll can pick a different color for that. So this little removable bowl, that's the part that's going to get dirty, that's going to touch your dirty spatulas and whatnot. And so this little bowl, you can take it out, easy to clean. And then I plan on having basically 4, I tried to look it up as roots, but the idea is super organic looking structure where I was going to have 2 roots on either side where they would overlap, curl up, and then you'd have them spread out into a kind of a circular pattern on the top. That's where you'd set your lid. Then they'd curl around this bowl. You'd have 2 roots coming out the back of it. And so they would form kind of this shape here that you could set your spatula handle on. And then 2 roots out of the front side, and they would just kind of spread out like the legs in this design here. So you'd have the 2 kind of legs spread out to help spread out the actual surface area so it is more stable, and you're not just gonna have your pot lids falling over on you. I tried to draw this a little bit yesterday and gave up. So I'm somewhat decent at, well, I used to be decent at drawing. It's been a while since I drew anything seriously, but it is not an easy shape. What I want to make is not an easy shape to do. Like, I guess another, what's it? Fibonacci sequence. I wanted to basically have the way the roots curl up. I want to have the side profile be of the Fibonacci sequence. I think that it's a really nice looking curve, and I think that'd be a super natural look on top of it, make it look super organic, kind of look, I think it's a fiddle fern. Is it a fiddle fern? Yeah, it's kind of the same shape where it's super gradual curve and then it gets progressively sharper. So I think try and blend in that shape as to make it just look super organic shape, which is obnoxious to make in SolidWorks, but that's another story. I guess you couldn't see that at all. All right, let's try that again. So Fibonacci sequence. So yeah, again, Fibonacci sequence, I want that to kind of be the shape of the way it curls up. So that's just super, it's a nice looking shape. And then, I mean, it kind of matches, like, as I was saying, the fiddlehead fern, where it has it gets gradual and then it gets progressively sharper as it reaches the top. And so it's going to have it nice straight up and then kind of more aggressively go into a flat section at the top there. And I think if I can get that curve nicely in SolidWorks, it will look quite nice. But as far as that goes, designing that in SolidWorks and trying to visualize and everything, do that the first time, I think is going to be really difficult. I tried to do a little bit yesterday and just couldn't get my mind wrapped around the shape I wanted to make. And so I went to the dollar store and bought some modeling clay, which something I've been meaning to do for a while. So I made the handle to a cheese grater that had broken the handle off of it, and I wanted to get some modeling clay for that so I could physically make a handle that feels comfortable to me, and then I would just measure it. It was basically going to be just widening and shrinking circles, and so I could then go into SolidWorks, set up a series of planes, make each circle a diameter that it's supposed to be, and then you just do a big boss. I think it's called a boundary extrusion to go in between the two. Then just go in between each of the circles to make the actual shape. And then I would have a real life physical version of it so I could tell that actually feels comfortable. Because I ended up doing that, and the handle I made is a little too wide to be comfortable, but it works well enough, so oh well. Strangely enough, this stuff smells actually kind of good. Like, it smells like something I kind of want to eat. It has like a vanilla smell to it, which it says it's gluten free, so I don't know if if that's a worry. If you modeling clay eaters out there are gluten free or whatnot, I don't know, but it does smell good. How do you open this? Nice. I guess it doesn't matter. I did end up buying the Tupperware to store it in, so it doesn't really matter if I make a mess of packaging. Is this just a tube? Where does it join? Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah. Okay, closer smell doesn't smell that good. And then you start to get the plasticky, but from just a brief sniff from a ways away and just opening up the Tupperware, it does smell quite nice. And it's been... I don't know if I've ever really used modeling clay before, so it's going to be a bit of an interesting experience. Actually, I guess it's about time to move the camera down. Come on. Right around there. You can't really see me anymore, but that is fine. Probably want to get my ugly mug off the screen anyway, so modeling clay view is just fine. Yeah, bought this cutting board that will hopefully be a good surface to work on. I don't want to get a bunch of clay on the desk. Ugh. Might need like a knife or something to help cut this. I think first I'm going to split these. I was worried this stuff wouldn't be strong enough to hold shape, but it does feel pretty strong. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna try to. Maybe I'll just do one piece first and see what's a good size of a piece. Hopefully I don't bump everything. This is going to be very annoying with the mic, isn't it? Rolling stuff on the desk. I apologize if my mic sounds terrible. Looking at OBS, it doesn't look like it's peaking too badly with me rolling it. But let's see. Let's try to get this into a nice cylinder. So a super grippy surface I could stick under this. Not really. Do I just get some duct tape to stick it to the table? That might be the play. Because this is kind of obnoxious just doing it with one hand. But I suppose that's fine. That's probably fine. Not a chance it's going to hold shape, unfortunately, but is what it is. Okay. That's what the size I want. Do I have like toothpicks or something? Don't think so. So this might just be a complete failure. Sir. Could like wrap it around a water bottle. do this. That might be the play, yeah. I think I'll make more of these snakes, and then we'll go from there. Oh yeah. Hi. Peace do. It's gonna be a little harder. Might be a bit of a harder stream to keep entertaining because I'm just gonna be. I got 2 more rolls to make, so I guess it won't be too long where I'm just blabbering to myself and not really thinking. But I suppose what's new, right? Yeah, no. I will be back in a second. I'm just gonna go grab. I don't want to put on the stream while I grab. Let's just leave it on that. I'm gonna go grab some duct tape. And we're back. Got some duct tape. My hands feel covered in clay now, which feels kind of gross. I suppose that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That is very not sticky. Duct tape. Is this where I want it? Yeah. One piece there. And one piece on the other corner, and we hopefully are good. Right. Wait. I guess speaking of another goofy little project I want to start on in the somewhat near future. I got too many projects going on. I really need to start finishing projects instead of just starting new ones. But to start, that's always the fun part. You're all full of inspiration, then you actually start it and realize it's a bad idea, or it's gonna be harder than you thought. But anyway, I got this little. I used to play a fair bit of saxophone back when I was in high school. I used to play alto saxophone from grade 8 to grade 12. Was decent at it. I mean, I was in a pretty small high school, so our band wasn't actually all that good, but I was somewhat decent at it. And so I wanted to try and keep playing as time went on. But a full-on alto saxophone is kind of big to carry around. And so I bought, or I think I asked for it as a Christmas present, but it's from this brand, I believe they're called Juvo or Nuvo, but basically they make plastic practice saxophones that are designed for like elementary kids. So instead of playing with a recorder, you can play with a little mini saxophone. But because they're designed for kids, they're all tuned to the key of C, whereas an alto saxophone's keyed to the key of E flat, if I remember correctly. And so I would like to play this little plastic saxophone a bit more, but it's just not quite as fun in the key of C. So I wanted to see if I could extend the saxophone, because it's got, as far as the shape of it goes, has a little neck that connects into the main body, and then you have a little bell on the bottom of it. The bell is removable, the main body is one piece, and the neck is one piece. I was thinking of making a little part that goes between the neck and the main body, extend that out a bit, and just use that to tune the saxophone to the new key. So that's how you tune wind instruments. You either shorten them or lengthen them to get them to the key you want. Usually it's just a small movement to get it to go from like halfway between G sharp and G and get that back down to being on G perfectly. But I figured I could try and go the full distance and go from a C to a G, which is going to be a bit interesting, especially because I've had, as it is, getting the low notes on the saxophone isn't super easy. Like I don't think I can hit the bottom two notes consistently well. So lengthening it might just make it impossible to play, but I figured I'd give it a shot. I bought some O-rings that should work. I measured it was 3/4 of an inch across, so hopefully the 3/4 inch O-rings I bought will work. Otherwise, I think there's a couple. I mean, you can get custom O-rings, so I might just have to spend money, get some custom O-rings for it, put those O-rings in, and then realize it doesn't work. But I suppose that'll be the fun of it. And if it does work, it will be quite nice, because I'll have a nice bluesier sounding saxophone that I can take on like motorcycle trips, take it hiking. I don't have to worry about it, because I mean, my alto saxophone, I want to say it was like $2,000. And so that's not something you want to just take around and mess around with. You have to be somewhat careful with it. Where this little plastic saxophone is only like $150, I want to say. So it's a lot more reasonable to just take around and play with. And the alto saxophone, the box for it, the case for it is probably yay wide, which is, I want to say about 3 feet. It's about a 3 feet by a foot by 8 inches, somewhere along that size. Where the plastic saxophone is like 1.5 feet, or like 1.25 feet long by 6 inches by 5 inches. So it's much more reasonable, and it's all plastic, so it is much more easy to carry. So yeah, I want to see if I can get that going, because then I'll be able to play I have a bunch of music back from high school, so I'll be able to just play the same notes. It'll be all in the same key. It'll be much easier to play instead of having to transfer and transcript all the notes to the proper key. But yeah, any other super interesting projects? Trying to do some PLC programming. I might try and find a PLC project to go. Because in case you didn't know, PLC, I don't remember what it stands for, but it's a special type of computer that is used in automation for basically anything that's automated. Most things are controlled by PLC, at least in industry. Like sawmills, factories, robotic arms, anything that's automated usually has a PLC in it, just because they're easy to program to do what you want them to do, and they're designed to just last forever. They're a special type of computer. It takes fairly basic code, but they just do the same thing over and over and over again. Don't crash, will last for decades, sort of deal. Where your regular computer crashes whenever. It constantly messes up. But only problem is, to do it properly, you need to buy a PLC. I don't really have the couple of $100s to purchase a PLC, and I have no projects that I feel would be worthy of bothering to have a PLC for. So we shall see on that. I figured I was working on making at least a binary calculator. There's this coding language in PLC called ladder logic, which is really interesting coding language. It's as it says, it looks like a ladder where you have inputs on one side and then you have an output on the other side. And it's just logic from one side to the other. If this input is yes and this input is no, this output is 1 or this output is 0. And so it's all binary. Binary, yes or no, ones and zeros. And so I figured I'd try to make a little PLC calculator. Just to brush myself back up on PLC coding, because I did a little bit in university, but nothing too crazy. So I was working on some ladder logic for that. I made the 8-bit adder, which is about easy bit, so I can add 8-bit numbers, which I don't even know what is 8-bit respond to. I don't know what the largest 8-bit number would be, but it's a fairly large number. I want to say it's probably around 1,000, if I had to guess. Because in case you didn't know, binary, I believe they explain it that it works on base. What would it be? The base? I want to say it's like base 2. But basically, binary is a series of 1s and 0s. So if you say you want to do the number 5, the 1s and 0s will line up with corresponding. It's 2 to the power of something. So the first spot is 2 to the power of 0. So it's 1. So if the first dot is a 0, it is plus 0. If it's a 1, it's plus 1. And then the second spot will be 2 to the 1. So if that's a 0, it's plus 0. If that's a 1, it's plus 2. Third spot is 2 to the power of 2. So if that's a 0, it's plus 0. If that's a 1, it's plus 4. And you basically multiply the 1s and 0s in the binary code against the 2 to the, I guess 2 to the n. You could say that as an equation. Multiply those across, add them all up, so you have the first 2 to the 0 times 1 or 0, 2 to the 1 times 1 or 0, plus 2 to the 2 times 1 or 0. Add those up, and that will get you whatever number you want. And so 2 to the binary 8 would be 2 to the 7, which is way past what I know in my timetables. But anyway, we got four roots here. A little lumpy, but hopefully they're good enough for what we need. I think this stuff is water soluble. Imagine clean it off with water. Let me get my work water bottle real quick. I'm just gonna shut the camera off again. I'll be back in a second. And we're back. I think my room has a bit of a weird, almost smells like burning plastic in it, which I'm hoping is just from outside the window, because I don't see anything remotely looking like it's burning, so I have no idea where it's actually coming from, the smell. So hopefully it's fine, but I suppose we'll see. Maybe my room will burn down on stream. But yeah, so I got my work water bottle here. Was tempted to use my nicer water bottle, but in case I can't get this kind of weird sticky feeling off, I figured I'd use my work water bottle, which, I mean, it's covered in all sorts of dinks and paint and whatnot from landscaping and painting. Anyways, how do I want to start? Guess I'll do it this way. Let's see. These have to be longer, aren't they? I think like something like that, and then it would curl up something along that shape. Let's try the other leg. Oh boy. Can you please stick to here? Yeah, this is really only be good to getting a slight idea on how I want it to work. Look, this is without some sort of support, this clay is nowhere near as strong as I need. Stick to the water bottle. Nice. So those two legs like that. Stick to the water bottle, please. Stick them together. And these front legs, we'll do the same. Just take off. Also curve up like that. Right. And those legs together. That works through there. That curves up like that. All right. It's it looks terrible. I don't know if that's just because it's a poor design or if I'm just don't know if that's the design or the maker. I might just be terrible at sculpting. I was hoping this would make this whole process easier so I could just make it and copy it, but I don't think that's really going to happen. But I guess as far as I can see, height and overlapping isn't going to be too big of an issue. So yeah, that's going to be the fun part in SolidWorks, is all of these are basically going to be 3D sketches that I'm going to sweep a circle along, but getting all of those to line up nicely so there isn't excessive overlap, and they support the little bowl in the center nicely, is going to be kind of rough. But yeah, I guess it's, as you can see, we have kind of the legs along the back, which will match the hump in here. Where this water bottle is, we'll have a little bowl with these kind of roots holding in place. And we have the two legs out here to add some support as well, keep it from falling over. Might need to spread these out a little bit more to give it a bit more presence, but it might be fine as is. Sorry for the hiccups. I think definitely going to want to loop these out wider. I mean, I want these all ideally, I want to say they're sitting like that. Maybe swoop them out a little bit wider, but sitting about yay wide at the top, which I'm not sure that transfers well to camera, but that wide across to give ample room. Because I want to make sure, I think I might need to go higher as well. Yeah, I'll probably need to go up to about yay high, so there's ample room if there is a lid on here to still get the spoon or spatula into the little bowl at the bottom so they don't actually touch. So I'm probably gonna want those about yay tall. I don't want to touch my caliper, but we will. So height wise, I don't want to do this. Yes, that's from the bottom of there. Height wise, it's going to be about 12 centimeters tall, which is fine. Then if we want these arms about yay wide, I'm looking at, this is going to be very guesstimate. We're going to be looking at outer circle of about a 99 centimeter radius. So, which is basically as big as I can print. Which is not ideal. That's the other fun part. It's going to make sure all these sweeps are in a nice shape. Yeah. Might. What are the next one? Clean my hands and then hop into Solars. I think I might cut it there. Approaching hour, live for 52 minutes. So I think messing around in SolidWorks, I'm just going to do my own time, because it's going to be a lot of just bumbling around trying to get this to work, which might not be all that exciting to watch, so I'll probably just do that on my own time. Get a bit of a update in the future once it's done. What I want to do might just not fit on my printer. Might have to like print it in 2 sections, which I don't want to do. But I might have to. We'll see. I guess I was thinking in my head if there's any other dimensions I should get, but I suppose it's too late to get any other dimensions. Everything's all wrapped up. There. You in there. And put the lid back on. Alright. We'll call it there. Apologies for delay on everything. Yeah. Just get this back up so I can actually speak to the camera. Ow. Sorry about that. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna end it there. Anything else I need? Let's look forward, hopefully somewhat soon, I'll be starting on the actual coding for the robotic arm. Gonna be doing that on my laptop, which might be fine actually, because then I can have this GoPro running through the software and have the laptop camera actually filming me. So the quality isn't going to be as good because the laptop camera isn't nearly as nice as the GoPro camera. So apologies for the lack of that. But it was a pain in the butt for whatever reason. OBS picks up this camera. The GoPro Preview picks up this camera. Imagine I could do just about any app and it would pick up the camera. But it doesn't pick it up in the Python software. So I was coding it in PyCharm. OpenCV doesn't recognize it as a webcam, and neither does the actual Windows webcam on my computer. And so I thought it might work on my laptop because I think it's worked on there in the past. Attached it, wasn't working, did like every single, I did 4 different versions of the GoPro software, see if any of those would work. None of them did. Reset the Windows on that laptop, so like wiped a bunch of apps and whatnot, which is obnoxious, but it works now. So we're gonna leave it on there. I'm eventually gonna write some Python code on this computer as well, because I like the OBS screens, so I can swap between either full cam, document cam with cam, or document cam without cam. And I plan on kind of doing the same with the robotic cam, or the robotic arm, and my webcam. So instead of being stuck where it is right now, I can press a number on my keyboard. I have these like 5, or I guess I have all these numbers here, which I've been using those as my OBS hotkeys. I'll line those up. Hopefully I can get those working with Python as well. And then I can press the number there and have it as like just a regular webcam view. Press the number, have it as like a document camera view so I can work on a document or whatnot. Press another number, maybe have it just watch in the 3D printer, just have that going, I don't know, be cool. And then I can frick, sorry about that. Then I'll have a bunch of different views and I can just swap between all of them, which is probably a little extra. Probably just better to have it on like a mic boom arm, but I figured this would be more fun. Maybe much cooler instead of having to move it manually. I can just press a button, keep working, and just have the feed slowly transition to where I want it to go. So I'll have that code running on this computer, and then I'll have the block identifier code running on my laptop. And that way, if I want to bring it anywhere to present it or show it off, I can just take the laptop instead of having to bring this big computer. Which I guess I could just move the code in between, but it'll be on my laptop either way. So I can just send it, put the laptop, set it up, and show it off. Like, was thinking of going to like a farmer's market, craft market, setting up shop there, seeing if anyone wants to have something built for them. And I figured that'd be a really fun demonstration to have going on, where I can just have this robotic arm stacking blocks. I gotta have people throw the blocks and have the robot pick them up and have them stop by and be like, hey, you need something designed, need something built? I'm looking for projects. So yeah, that is that. I was confused about why this arm wasn't moving, but that's because it's not moving. I suppose that's that. I was gonna say that not sure if I'll be, see, I'm looking for a job coming up soon here, so we'll see how much I can actually record during the week. Haven't been recording much during the week, so I suppose nothing much is going to change, but likely in the future, if I do a live stream, it'll be much later in the day or on a weekend, as I just have to work around work hours. Which, I don't know if anyone cares. No one showed up, so I don't suppose it doesn't really matter. Everyone's watching these, if they are watching it after the fact, but I'm just gonna update for that. And I suppose that's about it. Got nothing much else to say, so We'll end the stream right on the hour mark, just to be fancy. So I guess thank you, and see you next time.